Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to round 20 of season 2 of our F125 Aston Martin driver career mode. Yes, we're back this weekend here in Mexico City, of course for the Mexico Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out from the Circuit of the Americas. Of course, yeah, 5 races to go with the campaign. Things are looking pretty good for us at the moment, although we do have some massive rule changes announced ready for this weekend. So we're going to be going through behind the scenes, trying to get as many of these upgrades sorted as I possibly can. Of course, if we win the World Championship, we will most likely be leaving the Aston Martin team come the end of the season. In my mind, we'll have got the job done, and that's kind of what we were here for in the first place as well there. So yeah, there's still high stakes though at this stage of the campaign. A lot can change before season's end. McLaren 486 points there. As you can see, they've got a 59-point lead over Red Bull, but it's Aston Martin with most of the momentum behind us at the moment. Alonso, disappointing. After a good run of form recently, the team completely screwed him over on strategy. For some reason, put him on a 2-stop in Kota. I think he was the only driver to do a 2-stop strategy last weekend. We've got a 60-point lead over Lando Norris, though, at this stage of the World Championship as well. 5 races, 2 sprints. Both championships are still very much in our grasp if things go the right way. I think, to be honest, at this point, in the ideal world, we hopefully lock up the Drivers' Championship with a race or 2 to spare, and then hopefully, obviously, put all of our focus into trying to make sure Alonso scores as many points as he possibly can as well. Of course, if you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. We are trying to hit 13k subs here at the moment as well. But yeah, without further ado then, let's return here to the Mexican Grand Prix.
What an atmosphere we've got. The fans have been here since dawn, and the stadium, the Faro Sol, is absolutely heaving. We're about to get set to set the grid for tomorrow's Grand Prix. It's qualifying day here in Mexico City.
Well, the Mexican Grand Prix is always a bit of a weird one for me inside the F1 games. Sometimes here, we can do really, really well. It either goes really well or really, really badly around this circuit. Now, of course, on the one hand, towards the end of this season, you know, we've got such a healthy buffer now over Lando Norris that we can start to try playing it safe, you know, not risking big results or anything like that. On the other hand, of course, we still want to try and wrap up the Constructors' Championship for the team, so obviously we're on the back foot there, so we do need big results towards the end of the season. Like I said, I think we could definitely go to Abu Dhabi with a shot at the crown, but it does kind of depend on what Alonso is able to do in the other car. His pace looked pretty good in free practice, but as we've learned inside this game, that means nothing if you can't deliver on Saturday. The other big issues inside F125 around this circuit is actually managing the tyre temperatures as well. Or when you get into the Grand Prix, there are a lot of big, heavy braking zones around this lap as we try and shut the car down in towards the final few corners. Though this first lap has felt alright, you know, should hopefully be a decent enough benchmark. Haven't used enough battery, though, around the lap as we do a 13.9. Despite that, we still go P4. We're heading back out then, ready for our final run here in qualifying. We've got a very, very mixed-up grid so far. Max Verstappen, quarter of a second clear of Alexander Albon. Ollie Behrman up in P3 in the Haas car, so we could be in for a couple of shockers here, as Fernando Alonso still a little bit further down the order than what I'd like to see from our teammate. We need about half a second, though, if I want to get up towards the Dutchman's time. But, of course, we know just how good he often is around this Mexico Grand Prix circuit. So as we shut the car down, in towards turn 1 there, really trying to make sure we keep it clean and tidy over the curbs. A little bit of wheel spin on the exit, as Verstappen finds another 0.2 of a second there. For the Dutchman just getting quicker and quicker as this qualifying session ramps up. We have gone purple in Sector 1. It's really this middle part of the lap where the Dutchman is finding plenty of time. I'm expecting other drivers to improve as well. I'm expecting us to get shuffled down the order, but it doesn't seem to have happened, well, so far there, as that was a lot of curb on the entry in towards the S's. So I think Lando Norris might have had a bit of a stinker here in qualifying, as we're just trying to find a little bit more pace in towards the final few corners. 0.6 up at the moment. We could be quite close to Verstappen by the end of the lap, as we get a little bit of a wobble on through that corner. Come on, nice and tidy, nice and tidy. So we try and chuck our way in towards the final corner. 3/4 of a second up. This could be very close between ourselves and Verstappen. We've done it.
Got pole position.
Very, very happy with that lap. P1. Well, there we go then. Myself and Max Verstappen near enough half a second clear of anybody else by the end of qualifying. Alex Albon and Ollie Behrman, though, making up row 2. So 5 cars from 5 different teams inside your top 5. No McLarens. No Mercedes in that group as well, which is rather impressive. Fernando Alonso, he'll be a bit disappointed all the way down in P12, but easily the biggest shocker. Lando Norris, P15 in his McLaren car. Lewis Hamilton, P17 in his Red Bull as well. So a lot of drivers not able to get laps together. The race today is going to be between myself and Max.
Bienvenidos to the most populous city in North America. The legendary Jim Clark won the first official F1 race back in 1963 here, and we've had a veritable who's who of winners ever since. It's Mexico City, and therefore the Mexico City Grand Prix. At 2,285 meters above sea level, the thin air of the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez poses a unique challenge, not just to a driver's skill, but to the efficiency of their engines as well. 17 corners then make a lap of this 2.6-mile circuit, expect incredible speeds in excess of 220 miles per hour, and overtaking into the braking zones of Turn 1 and Turn 4. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Mr. Monaco lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Albon, Behrman, Franco Colapinto, and Sainz, Piastri, Russell, Bortoletto, and Charles Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, Ocon, Isaac Hadjar and Norris, Antonelli, Hamilton, Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan, Lawson and Nico Hülkenberg rounds off the grid. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. And striding into our commentary box to join us today, the man, the myth, the legend, Anthony Davidson. Let's look at their season, and particularly against their teammate. Fair to say they've got the better of them more often than not.
Yeah, they have, and it's, rule number 1, beat your teammate. They're the one that share the same equipment as you, and yes, the cars can vary in setup from race to race and depending on who has which style, but essentially they're your barometer, the yardstick. If you can beat them, that's the first job you have to do. And it looks like it's going their way, doesn't it? And they need to carry on this momentum, this energy through the rest of the season.
Okay, we're in a good, solid position for the Constructors' title, which will mean so much to everybody here in this team. There's just 3 races to go, so we need some good, solid results.
Well, we're going to start ignoring Mark's inability to do simple maths inside this game, but very, very interesting there, obviously talking about our rivalry with Fernando Alonso over the course of these 2 seasons together. Both of them we have had the better of the Spaniard, but this season I think has been rather telling just how much he's struggled. There have been flashes of brilliance, but too often Alonso has kind of been very anomalous in races, and it's days like today, especially with Norris down the order as well. Even if he can just pick up, an 8th place finish, get a few points for the team, that could be very, very useful. 5 red lights are on, though, here in Mexico. It's the lights out, and away we go then. Of course, a massive run down towards Turn 1, so we're going to try and cover off as many cars as we possibly can. Verstappen, no surprise there, getting off to a very, very good getaway. But we will try and make it 3 wide then, between us, him, and his former Red Bull teammate, and Alex Albon, who goes round the outside of the pair of us. What is that from Alex Albon down at Turn 1, the Williams man? Had a brilliant time last weekend at the Circuit of the Americas. Verstappen gets a little bit caught out over the inside curb through Turn 2 and Turn 3, but Alex Albon round the outside and straight up into the lead of the Grand Prix at the start there. A fantastic move as well. Verstappen tried to have a look down our inside there. Didn't quite commit to it, but I made a little bit of a wobble as he tried to get the power down and kind of tried to set the car up to avoid losing too much time if there was contact. Always those little micro adjustments that make all the difference here, but Yeah, Albon, very, very good pace last weekend. Just didn't quite have the out-and-out speed to compete with our Aston Martin when all is said and done. But here at the start of the Mexico City Grand Prix, once again, Williams up in P1. Exactly what we want to see. And I'm really hoping they can maintain some of that momentum in towards Season 3 of this series. Whether we stay with Aston Martin or make a move elsewhere, it would be great to see Williams fighting back at the front. Here comes Verstappen, though. As we start lap 2, then down the inside he'll go. A fairly simple move for the Dutchman. Will we just make his life a little bit more awkward, though, as we'll switch back to the inside. Immediately get back down the inside on the brakes, fire it in a little bit too deep. So we'll just get the power down, and we'll just about hang on to the spot. Oh, we've got yellows already then in this GP. Oh, it's Oscar Piastri! The McLaren man looks to already be dropping to the wayside then, and well, with Lando Norris way down the order as well, that is not what they need at the moment. As Max Verstappen flies around my outside down at turn 1 that time round with the help of DRS. Not too worried about trying to hold him up or anything like that this early in the day. But McLaren, they've had pretty good reliability this year. And again, that just helps us out and Red Bull out in the Constructors. Oh, Verstappen, I don't think wanted to waste much time stuck behind us here early on in the day. Really wants to try and go attack Alex Albon just up in front. But we will make his life a little bit more difficult then. Back around the outside we'll go. I mean, basically a carbon copy of the move he did on me 1 lap ago. Luckily now they've got rid of Oscar Piastri's car, so we can battle a bit more down that front straight. Can we get the gap back under a second to Albon? He knows he's got to try and keep the DRS kind of the range for as long as possible, but he might not have much say. These two cars are much quicker than his. Albon is just having a fantastic time at Williams right now. As we make our way through the Forest Salt, just see getting there a little bit closer, make sure we're inside the 1 second zone when we get to the detection point there and get on that throttle as early as we can. Looks like, yeah, I mean, Carlos Sainz and the other Williams running up in P5 might be able to make a move on Ollie Behrman as well there. So Williams are looking very, very racy at this stage of the campaign. Helped, of course, by just how good both of their drivers are. As round the outside of Albon we will go down at that turn 1. And up then into the lead for the first time since the start. The first few laps of races inside this game can really dictate how things go on later on, especially if you don't end up with a safety car or anything like that. I don't know whether Albon was just in the detection point by the time we got into that little DRS zone. I think he will just about stay inside the range through the final couple of corners. Oh no, I think it was up to 1 second. So Albon now might be vulnerable to Max Verstappen then as we start lap 6 of this race. Mexico, though, is a really, really long Grand Prix inside this game. So we have just got to try and stay out of trouble as best as we can. Because I think, yeah, Verstappen has the DRS, Albon didn't. But that'll probably mean that Verstappen stays close.
Keep them behind, please.
Yep, team want me to hold up Max. I don't think there's going to be much we can do there unless those two go wheel to wheel. This gives us a good opportunity to run away. Already, the gap up to 1.5 seconds. That is fantastic news. They're still wheel to wheel just behind us. So hopefully Albon can hold up the Dutchman a little bit more. Verstappen will not be enjoying this, but Albon has done it. Well, Max Verstappen is still driving like a man possessed early on in this GP. He's got past Albon, and I think he's got the DRS range now up over a second as well, ahead of the Williams man. Carlos Sainz seems to be dropping away slightly, as Ollie Behrman still in a comfortable P4 spot early on. Like I said, I think our battle today is going to be with the Dutchman. Of course, he knows as well Red Bull want to win the Constructors' Championship this season. Lando Norris seems to have been able to fight his way back into the points quite early on here, so his pace looks pretty good. I've just got no idea where Alonso is. I think he's a bit further down the order, so that is not ideal. And I'm sure I'm about to see Max Verstappen fly past me on the run in towards turn 1. So I think, yeah, Alonso is somewhere in that gaggle around Norris. Yeah, there goes Max. Gonna see what the Dutchman's pace is like over these next couple, because he is flying along. You know, Max Verstappen sometimes on this game just locks in, and there's really nothing anybody can do about it. It is kind of hilarious, but also very annoying. But I think we have got the pace to keep up with Max Verstappen. It is just about looking after these medium compound tyres. Not quite sure we're going to be able to extend them as far as the team wanted us to originally. I'm also just really trying to manage the temperature in them as well, of course. A lot of big traction zones around this circuit. Obviously, the AI have traction control, so they don't struggle. I don't have traction control, so they're likely to pull away from me, especially as you get towards the end of a stint around here. Just trying to stay in the range of Max. I want to get to the end of lap 15 before I pit, but I'm happy to go for a slight undercut on him if I need to. We really are hanging onto Max by my fingernails at the moment. What's the tyre wear up to? 54%. So yeah, these tyres now are really starting to go up towards the end of their usable life. Towards the end of this stint there, especially as we're having to push a bit harder to try and stick with the Dutchman. This is where he's really strong in this game. As you get towards the end of a stint, especially around some of these high-deg circuits, he can just maintain lap time where, you know, everybody else can't, it feels like, inside this game. I mean, the two of us have already got a 6-second lead now over Alexander Albon in not that many laps. Ollie Behrman's still battling with George Russell, P4 and P5. Maybe at some point I've got to make Haas champions. I didn't manage it on F1 24. Maybe that's a plan inside this year's game. Well, the team want us into the pit lane then at the end of this lap, so we're going to try and see if we can go for one big move on Verstappen down the inside of turn 1. We did get it slowed down at the apex there, but I think the Dutchman really wanted to try and turn in. That could have been a lot more disastrous than it ended up being.
We need to, so let's burn through some more now so that we're not too heavy at the end of the race.
Just want to try and make sure we're ahead of him, so I mean, these tyres are gone at the moment. Look at that. How much we're sliding around in towards the middle sector. Just want to make this Aston Martin as wide as we possibly can. That way, if Max is going for another lap or anything like that, we know we won't have already pulled away by a good, you know, even if it's just a second or anything like that, it can make all the difference here as just trying to control the pace, control the speed through these final few corners. Of course, we won't have any DRS here, so I'm going to have to swing defensive. Anyway, look at that. The Dutchman, so much confidence on the brakes, but we will just keep, you know, hanging him out to dry as best as we can. Into the pit lane we go, though. Will Max Verstappen be following us in? That is the all-important question. No, the Dutchman opts to stay out another lap then. Don't get done for speeding like we did last weekend out in Texas. And yeah, as we make our way then, we've done pretty well to look after these medium tyres as best as we can. The hard tyres, they should be a little bit easier to maintain towards the end of the afternoon. But let's just see if we come out in too much traffic then. Behrman up into the podium places. There will go Charles Leclerc as well. So I think we're going to come out just with our teammate Fernando Alonso.
Race on this compound.
There goes the Spaniard, so we'll tuck into the slipstream immediately as best as we can. And luckily he's got some DRS as well, so we might not be able to challenge him on this lap, or if we can, hopefully we can get past him nice and easily. We have apparently got a career-defining rivalry with our teammate at the moment. But I think, you know, morale's still high between the Aston Martin duo. I think, if anything, Fernando just a little bit upset that he's getting beaten. Let's just see if we can get a switch back in towards the middle sector and allow him to use all of his available speed down the straights. But then use the grip we've got through the corners. There we go, Verstappen into the pit lane then. Our big rival in this Grand Prix so far. It's all a little bit wide there, so I want to try and get in the range of Charles Leclerc. Hopefully we're about to do that. Yes, we will. 0.7 of a second as we make our way through. So Leclerc will immediately jump out of the way. Wouldn't have complained if he'd given me a little bit more slipstream, but let's see what the undercut is on Verstappen. Actually quite comfortably there. Especially now we've got the DRS as well on the run back down towards turn 1 as Hamilton still trying to extend his stint yet another lap in this Grand Prix. But we've got 3 seconds over Verstappen. But again, I do expect him to be a little bit quicker than me. Well, this is the horrible dilemma we've got then as we head into the second half of this race. Unless we get a safety car or a red flag or something like that, this is going to be a straight fight between myself and Verstappen right the way through to the very end. But do I push a little bit more aggressively to try and keep him out of the range for a bit longer? Or do I just kind of look after the tyres, make sure that we've got enough fight at the end of the race, that if the Dutchman does get past me, and that he doesn't just waltz away? It's a really difficult decision to make. At the moment, I'm kind of trying to half do both. Keep him out of the DRS range, but also push a little bit more, but look after the tyres. But I got no idea whether it'll work.
Piastri has just set the fastest lap of the race.
Hey? Piastri's not even in this Grand Prix anymore. How obsessed is Mark with Oscar Piastri inside this game? Even if Piastri's retired, Mark is still adamant it's him that is going quickest. I don't know what his love affair is with Oscar inside F1 25, but I desperately hope EA fix it. Well, I'll be honest, we've kept Verstappen behind us for about as long as I sensibly thought we'd be able to at this stage of the Grand Prix, but at 2/3 distance, the Dutchman has now finally closed in on me. I'm sure he's about to make the move happen as we make our way out of the final corner there. Round the outside he'll go. Just going to make sure that we complete our program nice and quickly. Those are still useful to do inside this game. I know often they come across as just annoying little challenges, but they are very ideal to kind of build up morale and momentum within the team as well. And, you know, as I've said, if we do leave Aston Martin at the end of this year, I want to make sure I leave them as good a spot as I possibly can. Alonso is still slowly climbing his way through. He's up to P7 now in this race. I think the very best Lando Norris can do is come P9. And that could suddenly shift it, that we could leave Brazil as world champion if we're able to outscore Norris again. Well, Verstappen's made the move, and I think he immediately wants to try and break free from us as we make our way back down in towards turn 1. Of course, we know just how ridiculously overpowered this DRS zone is. So, we will try and get back down the inside there. Probably didn't have to give me the room down the inside of turn 1, but I'll make sure I return in kind if he goes for a dive bomb on me quite soon. With the DRS, though, again, Verstappen trying to have a look around the outside, up in towards turn 4. And again, we will keep the car just in front. Let's see if we can try and just break the slipstream there, use a bit of battery to keep Verstappen at bay a little bit longer. No, it's pointless, isn't it? 10 laps to go of this race. And the Dutchman, again, clean back around the outside there by the time we get in towards turn 1. I say, that DRS zone is rather large. I mean, we came from pretty much a second back last lap there to get the run on the Dutchman. Yeah, as long as we stick in the range, I think this is going to come down to the final couple of laps. Oh, Verstappen, huge snap oversteer through the final couple of corners. The Dutchman, that's just how much he's pushing to try and break this gap. I'm just going to sit behind him for a few laps, try and build up the charge. We are going to have to start dealing with lapped cars, though, towards the end of this race. Could that play an impact? Well, the first of those lapped cars, then, is, I believe, the V-car of Liam Lawson here. So just got to make sure that we are close enough behind Verstappen that he will get out of the way of the pair of us in one go. The Dutchman might just have picked up some DRS off of him, though, as we make our way in towards the final few corners. If not, I can't help but feel that Lawson might give him the DRS down in not only in turn 1, but of course in turn 3 as well. Is there a little bit of kind of Red Bull teamwork going on right now, as Lawson has definitely given Max Verstappen the DRS for those 2 detection points. Luckily, we've got a lot of battery, but we're going to have to use a load of it now to try and stick close enough to the Dutchman here. Surely Lawson will jump out of the way on the run back down towards turn 1. But that has proved very, very useful. He's not really getting out of the way of Max Verstappen there. Luckily, he will jump out of the way of us into turn 1 as well. But Lawson making life very, very difficult. But also, yeah, helping Verstappen out. Look at that. And again, free DRS up the hill. 6 laps to go of this race. Luckily, we are still with him. Oh, here we go. I wasn't actually planning on getting a run on Verstappen this time, but the Dutchman having to go a little bit defensive into turn 1 there. Round the outside we will go. And back up then into the lead of the Grand Prix. Is he just beginning to struggle a little bit towards the end of the race? I'm not optimistic. As always then, Verstappen able to get the power down out of that final corner and will immediately fly back around my outside on the run in towards turn 1 there. I believe it's Franco Colapinto. It must be Franco who's next up on the old hit list here of lapped cars. Didn't he qualify like P5? How on earth has he ended up so far down the order when Leclerc's recovered? Brilliant. Oh, don't say Verstappen's going to get another car as well that's going to give him DRS through the final couple of corners. How unlucky have we been with that so far? Verstappen has basically been given DRS twice for free in this race. So don't get too angry about it, Matt. Don't lose the back end now with 3 laps to go. You can see, though, the Dutchman already building up a 1-second buffer over me again, but we will hopefully close back in on the run in towards that first corner. Colapinto doing a bit of a better job of it than Liam Lawson did last time round. But then he's going to get completely in my way down at turn 1. What is he doing? That's ridiculous. He cut turn 1 there, or turn 2. Just try and get in the way still, and now suddenly Verstappen 1.8 seconds clear. Surely we're not going to be able to do a lot about that towards the end, especially when the next car is yet another V-carb. But if that V-carb gives the Dutchman DRS here right towards the end, then I believe it is pretty much game over for us. Oh, as the gap 1.3 seconds through the final corner, we do not have the DRS this time round. But luckily, I don't believe Verstappen does either. 2 laps to go of the Mexico City Grand Prix. Will the Dutchman be able to close in any more on that V-carb on the run towards turn 1? Could they maybe help me out a little bit? As Verstappen has been very lucky with the lapped cars so far. Blue flag cars have been pretty terrible so far in this race, but I believe, yeah, still Isaac Hadjar is holding up Max Verstappen. He's actually holding him up quite badly as we make our way down in towards the S's. Will he let me through? Of course not. Get out of the way! Come on, man. I mean, he might give me some DRS there, which could be rather useful. But Verstappen is just pulling away yet again at the moment there, as finally Isaac Hadjar jumps out of the way. Luckily, that DRS might just give us enough there, as you can see how much we're pushing. We've got to be back in the range of Verstappen by the time we get through this detection point there, and we are sending it through. Unfortunately, I don't think it's quite going to be enough, though, as we've got yellows out. Someone might be breaking down towards the end of this race. It's Isaac Hadjar. Hadjar then with problems right towards the very end. But 1 more lap to go here in Mexico. And I think, yeah, for Max Verstappen, he can Franco Colapinto for this one. Completely blocked me down through those first couple of corners. And ultimately might be the difference maker here, as surely we can't go 2 seconds quicker than the Dutchman on this final lap. And well, again, it obviously helps Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship as well there, as Hamilton and Fernando Alonso battling a little bit further behind. It means Red Bull are going to take more points out of McLaren this weekend, and it's going to really hamper us. For the Dutchman as well, of course, massively helps him in the Drivers' World Championship, as I believe Lando Norris has actually got ahead of both Alonso and Lewis Hamilton in this GP. So, a lot going on then in terms of the bigger championship picture here as we make our way through the final couple of corners. But I will be marching down to Ferrari after this race and having a very stern word with the Argentinian there through the final few corners, though, as the confetti flies here in the Foro Sol. Max Verstappen back to the top step of the Formula 1 podium once again. But boy oh boy, in my mind, this one comes with a big asterisk, because we were properly hounding him right to the end.
Yes, mate, I'll take that. Well done. We're really happy with the podium down here, so well done. Yes!
The checkered flag is out. We're going to be hearing that Dutch national anthem again, because it's victory for Max Verstappen.
To overcome the difficult circumstances they face throughout this race today, Crofty, it's not easy, and it really shows a lot of maturity, and you can use this, you can draw on this as a driver moving forward and boost your confidence through the rest of the championship.
It's been a hard afternoon of brilliant racing, but now it's time for some proper celebrations. The podium awaits. And for those that have missed the Dutch national anthem, fear not. It's back again, because Max Verstappen is back on the top step.
Well, there we go then. A bit of a disappointing end to the GP, but a lot of laps battling with Max Verstappen there, and for both of us, critical in the World Championship fight. The Dutchman will claim victory, though, this weekend, as we will finish second once more there, but Alex Albon, a brilliant podium in his Williams, just ahead of Charles Leclerc and George Russell. Lando Norris, a decent recovery, just ahead of Sainz and Alonso. Hamilton inside the points there, and a bit of a shame to see Ollie Behrman drop down the order so badly towards the end of the afternoon. But a point is a point, come the checkered flag. What does that do to our World Championship? Well, it means now we have a 69-point lead over Max Verstappen in the World Championship as well. I believe after Brazil, we would need an 83-point buffer for the World Championship to be locked up. So that's not out of the realms of possibility, but we all know just how good the AI are around Sao Paulo as well there. Carlos Sainz still ahead of Russell and Albon in the World Championship, but the Thai driver there almost now up over the 100-point barrier. For the first time, I believe, all year, Fernando Alonso now up into 10th spot as well, just ahead of Andrea Kimi Antonelli. What does that do, though, in the Constructors' fight? It means now McLaren have a 40-point buffer over Red Bull, a 69-point buffer over ourselves then, so we did take good points out of them, but that could have been a lot closer come the end of the weekend as well. I think we could genuinely see a three-way Constructors fight heading into that season finale. Thank you all so much for watching though. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for the Brazilian Grand Prix.